assess that competition?
No, I agree. I love Luke. I think Luke's a fantastic player, and I think if you go anywhere and there's not a competition, then there's something missing in that. I love working with Luke. Luke is super smart as a young guy, and just to talk about blitzes and defenses and what we're trying to do as an offense, it's great to work with him and to talk with him. So I would agree. I think it's a great competition, and I think Luke's awesome.
Scott also said that you've always been a big, strong guy, but you're even bigger and stronger this year. Just talk about what you did over the offseason.
Yeah, I feel that way. I worked really hard this offseason, and it's just sort of one of those things where I think every offseason you improve and you think, wow, like I've sort of apexed and reached that. And you have a season, then you come back in the offseason and you have what you did last year. Now you have another year to do even more stuff. And it always seems you're able to take another step on that. And then so for me, like after this summer, I have my lowest body fat since I've been here, and I think I lost 10 pounds of fat and gained 9 pounds of muscle over the summer post surgery, and I was able to do more pull-ups after getting a labrum surgery than before a surgery. So, and I was really happy with that, with upper body strength, lower body strength, speed, and agility. So I was really happy to work hard over the off season.
Harry, on the lighter note, who has better hair, you or JT doing the work?
I would say, I mean, they're different textures, I guess. I guess it would be inappropriate for me to say which one, because I guess that's like apples and oranges. He has great hair. Steele has great hair. Steele Chambers, great hair. Marcus Crowley, great hair. There's a good group of guys. So hopefully maybe there'll be like a group Head and Shoulders deal. Hopefully something, because we have I've got my blonde hair, and then we've got Steele's hair, and there's a huge versatility for a lot of markets. So anybody from shampoo companies. So
Time consuming to prep that head of hair?
usually not. I'll put it in a bun and then put a helmet on it, and the helmet just keeps everything out of my face. So luckily I don't play a sport where I have to be pretty and have my hair tied back without a helmet, like basketball or something. So I can just put on a helmet and it deals with everything.
Hey Harry, you didn't early enroll your freshman year, but you were still pretty involved with the program and doing Zoom calls. Zoom didn't exist back then.
Right.
You still meeting with Stud a lot. How did that help you in, I guess, your development when you did get here in the summer, so that you were able to just be a second string guy?
It helped a lot. It was able to you get a lot of it gets you over the learning curve really quickly, and it takes a lot of energy to get over the learning curve. And then once you're there, you can do a lot of things. And I would say like we have a lot of guys who came in this summer, like Donovan, who's doing fantastic as a young guy. But having that opportunity to learn before you're here can clear up a lot of confusion that you would have otherwise if you didn't get to prepare like you did having FaceTime. And so it was extremely useful for me, especially.
Is there any frustration you've been here for 3 years and yet you still actually never been to a spring practice?
It is really. I was thinking about that. It's really bizarre because of COVID, because of recovering from a labrum surgery. It's really bizarre. So I don't know what emotion I would put on that, because of course, I want to. Just like camp is such a bittersweet thing because it's so difficult, but it's also, I mean, you're spending 14 hours a day with your buddies. So I would say the same thing about spring ball is there's something to be said about doing hard things with people you care about. And I mean, that's what spring ball is, that's what camp is, that's what football is. And so yeah, it's definitely something, it's a sore spot to miss those things, and it's bizarre that I haven't had one yet, so.
Harry, you obviously played center before, but last year you played guard, and now you're moving back to center. Are there things you have to do to kind of like retrain yourself?
Yes. No, especially there's a lot of like neurologically you get grooved into doing a technique, and you get into a left-handed stance and operate like this, and it's like clockwork. And then moving to center, because it was like Michigan State, it was difficult having Josh leaves, and I was having to retrain myself. And I realized, especially like as a freshman playing center, you're in low stress environments because you're playing in a blowout environment, and there's really little consequence, and so there's less stressors, and so it's easier to perform. And then when you get to a high level environment, a high stress environment, I realized that there were a lot of technique things I had in the center position that I hadn't made concrete grooved in. And so fortunately I was able to have an entire year now of this off season to create that lizard brain and to create that muscle memory of performing certain center techniques while in a high stress environment, because you can't focus on it like you can in a low stress environment of a blowout game as a freshman. And so there's definitely lots of nuances between the positions, but luckily I've had a year to be able to work and practice and refine things. I learned a lot of things. I learned it's just hard to be a utility, and I learned how great like my class of guys was to fill in after having so many guys absent. I learned that people can be really mean if you play poorly, and it's really no surprise to me. And it was a great learning experience. It was extremely difficult to switch positions quickly like that and pivot like that. But now I think, again, as a learning experience, it's something I think that would be much easier for me to do in the future.
When exactly did you find out you were going to Buckeyes?
I think it was probably within like the week before, because I guess we were going to play Illinois, and a huge load of guys tested. A huge number of guys tested positive. We canceled the game for Illinois, and then we're practicing that week for Michigan State, and there was I guess throughout the week more guys were testing negative or testing positive, and getting removed. And again, it was like I talked with somebody earlier about just the year of COVID places so many variables that are non-football, but work their way into becoming football because now there's not an injury report, there's a COVID report, and there's guys absent because of that, and so. Yeah, I would say within a week or so. Yeah.
You mentioned the negative feedback from Michigan State, and that's been everyone has only seen you really play center in that high stress environment once. If there are fans or anybody concerned about your ability to do it, what would you tell them about that one off, or what did you think when you watched it?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I think a lot of it is, and this was I think a huge theme of my sophomore year. Is just it's so hard. There's so many things you don't know that you don't know. And that's what learning is, and that's what I think that's what's so great about being a sophomore who gets playing time, is you have to learn so many things you didn't even know you didn't know. I would say we're in camp and getting center reps, and it's a high stress environment, and so I would say I'm doing that right now, and I'm working that right now, and you sort of realize not to wax poetic, but there's a poem called "Defeat" by Khalil Gibran, where he talks about how to be enthroned is to be enslaved, and to reach one's fullness is to be like a ripe fruit that falls and it's consumed by the masses. And essentially how in victory and success, everybody's very capricious and they want to praise you and smother you with praise. But really, there's a great gift to having to do something very difficult that knocks you on your butt, and it's the fact that nobody else wants to share that with you, and that's the only thing that's going to belong only to you. And so it was very isolating to have people tell you they hate you, people tell you to go kill yourself, people tell you to go switch universities. That's a hard thing, but I think it's a great gift to have that, and know that other people would not have taken it. Other people would have been very different with that, but it was a great gift to have that for me. So I would say I'm doing the reps right now, and we have it in camp, and I think our D-line's fantastic, and I think a great representation of anything you could find in the Big Ten or nationally.
How did you learn to deal with that personally when people are saying mean things to you?
I would just say I think a lot of it is I talk to the people I love. I was just talking with Coach Nico yesterday about Bernard Baruch quote, and he says that those who matter don't mind, and those who matter don't mind, and those who I forget what it was, but it's those who mind don't matter, right? As a literary term, that's called chiasmus when you switch the words like that. Just FYI. But yeah, it's you learn a lot of things. You learn what things don't matter. You learn what things do matter, and I speak with Nico all the time, and we talk a lot about Stoic philosophy, and we talk a lot about all these other things. And there's so many things of Stoic philosophy, whether it be Stoicopathia or ataraxia. Marcus Aurelius says, like, look at how capricious all those clapping hands are. And the reality is laurels. People place laurels on your head and say that you're the best in the world, but laurels rot and laurels wither and they get very old. And again, there's a great gift to being challenged and being insulted, and like Walt Whitman, to struggle against great odds, face enemies undaunted, to find yourself entirely alone with them and see how much one man can stand. And to face public odium is a very difficult thing that I think a lot of people, it's a difficult thing that is very terrible in most cases, but also a great gift, because not everybody gets to experience it. A lot of people are protected by anonymity, and they can say whatever they want to say in a very brutal fashion. But I think if you ask a lot of guys who play football, there's a lot of mean things that are said to them. A lot of athletes deal with that, and that's just the way the thing goes. And so it's a great gift to know that people love you and people care about you. People who do difficult things with you care about you no matter what. So hard stuff is hard. It's not really news, just the way it goes.
Harry, what would you like to be We'll do two more, one here, then Tim. That's got to be embarrassing.
Yeah, it just hurt. It came right at the end of the season. You know, I dislocated my shoulder and it popped out and tore out a chunk of my labrum, and very painful experience. Surgery, got it repaired. Harrowing experience to work the rehab and fix it. It was a difficult thing, but again, like, that's just sort of how it goes. Is hard stuff is hard.
You can't favor it because the guy across from you will know.
Right. So you just got to play ball, and again, like, that's just sort of. I read a book about, you know, these great heroes and great figures in history, and there's one guy I'll just share named Horatio Nelson, who was a British captain. And he fought the French and stifled Napoleon many times in naval combat. And he had his arm ripped off or torn off by debris or a cannonball, and he had it amputated and kept fighting. And it's a lot of times when things hurt, it's nobody else really cares. So why should I? Because it's hard. Things are hard. It's gonna hurt if you play or don't play. So it's best to just give your shot and see how much you can do.
Harry, what was it like out there today, being the center in the midst of that line that had DeWan at right tackle, you know the line I'm talking about, and Nicholas at left tackle, the group. Is there a sense of power there? Explain to me what it's like to be in the midst of it.
It feels sick. Like I love being surrounded by such a great group of guys, and again, it's so deep. There's so many guys that I feel so honored to be able to share company with and play with and see every day. I feel like we're getting so close, and of course, as an underclassman, it's hard to get a gauge for how tight a group is, because you're an underclassman and you're not a leader. You don't really know what to look for in a unit. But I definitely feel like this group is so close and cares about each other so much, and has worked so hard in this off season to really get close and maximize everybody and care about everybody and give the most they can give each play, each practice. And I love it. I love being surrounded by those guys, and they are fantastic.
What's your favorite book?
Favorite book? I'd say my number one favorite book is Moby Dick. Number two is The Three Musketeers. And then number three, I would say either Grapes of Wrath or The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So I guess that's the top four, but I would say those books.
You're clearly not a dumb guy. This is a sport that prizes brutality and just turning off the brain sometimes. Has it been a challenge for you to put that side of you? It's such a part of who you are.
It has been a challenge, and I've talked with like Coach Mick about that. About, you know, how sometimes I wish I wasn't thinking through things, because that makes it easier to do, and to not suffer from analysis paralysis. But it's funny you bring that up, because again, I talk with Coach Nuke about that all the time. But there's in the Bhagavad Gita, it's this dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna are the two characters, and Krishna is a deity figure in Hinduism, and Arjuna is a royal prince who's going into battle to fight his kinsmen, and his dilemma is that he doesn't want to fight these people, and he's somebody who appreciates peace, who appreciates cognition and intellectualism, and his issue is that he doesn't want to fight these people, and Krishna tells him how essentially to be a device of fate, a device of the cosmos, to do what your task is. And when I realized that my task is fight hard for the people I care about, fight hard for the people I want to defend, whether that's the quarterback, quite literally, the guys next to me as well, but also for I would love the opportunity to fight for the sake of my family and make their lives easier, for my mother, for my father, for my brother, for the people I care about. And so when I thought about it in those terms, it's easy to turn your brain off because you realize that you realize what you're fighting for, and it doesn't take much to think and say, oh, I care about my mother, I care about my father, I care about the quarterback, I care about my teammates. Then there's nothing more to think about. You're just playing football and you're going as hard as you can, regardless. So that's what I tried to do, and that's a realization I had eventually.
Harry, thank you. I don't know if that deserves a follow-up or.
From Medulla oblongata, that's the lizard brain.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like these are the planets. These are the symbols of the planets. Like, so that's the sun right there, and Mercury, Venus, Earth, etc. The Earth tree or Yggdrasil or Kalpavrishka, like whichever culture. Each culture has a central world tree and some room. And so these, I like these a lot. This is the Mandelbrot set, which in mathematics is called the thumbprint of God, and it explains the fractal nature of our universe and potentially the fractal nature of the multiverse. And then this butterfly shape is the mathematics behind the butterfly effect. Strange attractors, Lorentz attractors. And so essentially these are both really big pivotal ideas in chaos theory and mathematics. And as a reminder to me that in many cases, in chaotic systems, what appears to be great disorder is in fact, a pretty beautiful order, whether it be the Mandelbrot set or the butterfly effect.
Great. One quick follow-up to Bill's question. It's such a violent game, and you're not a violent guy. Where does that love of football come from? I mean, I understand, the idea of protecting and your family and all of that thought process for you, but this is not a game where a lot of deeply intellectual people play and grow that passion. Where does that come from?
I think I talked with Coach Nico about this yesterday, and we have a G.K. Chesterton quote. I just realized I haven't been using this mic the entire time. We have a G.K. Chesterton quote in our locker room that says, the true soldier fights not because he hates what is across from him, but he loves what is beside him, what is behind him. And the realization came that, I don't want to run through this person because I hate this person. Again, like this was the realization of the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna talks to Krishna, and he says, this is my mission as a human, is to do this. And it's not because I hate this person, it's because this is my fate, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I try, and I don't hate, and of course it's difficult. You can't hate your teammates and play with hate and play aggressively against your own team. It may be easier to do that against an opposite team, but I think a lot of it is, this is my task, and I have been given this task. To quote Joan of Arc, I'm not afraid, this is what I was born to do. And so I think I don't do it out of malice, I don't do it out of hate or anger. I do it because it is my task to play football for Ohio State, and that's what I'm going to do with all of my heart. So.
Great. Harry, all right, to quote a rock and roll group, I want you to turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream.